All right. Um, and I don't have anybody in the chat right now, but if you're VOD watching this or you're seeing this a little bit later, just I do apologize if there's internet issues. I don't know what's going on, but my internet just seems slow right now. Right now at least, I'm not seeing any sort of uh dropping frames or anything or lag. See, but right now, as you can probably hear right now, the music's cutting in and out. I play music off of YouTube, and for some reason, the music just isn't downloading. um, like when I have the song pulled up, it just isn't loading. So I do apologize if that for some reason is happening. If you guys are hearing the lag or anything, but as of right now, I look okay. So I'm just gonna do my thing. Definitely not going to be streaming too long tonight. There's not much to really talk about in this game, but we're going to, as usual, we're going to talk about this terrible game that we just witnessed, unfortunately. I'll just start out by saying this, that I do think that I think the Bulls, if anything, when we look at their two games against the 76ers, at the very minimum, they did their job. I was looking at both these games as L's. I'm like, if anything, try to get one. You got one. Unfortunately, the other one, it sucks that you didn't get this one. But you technically, in my opinion, you did your job. So you did get one of the two games against Philly, which is that's a win. Because I was chalking both these games up as L's, and you got to win at least. The unfortunate part is that this game looked awful. So it almost kind of negates the fact that you'd won in Philly, but at the very minimum, what I try to look at is that the Bulls, they did win that game in Philly, which I did not think they're going to win that one, and I didn't think they're going to win this one tonight. So this was solid overall, the fact that you got one of the two games. This game, though, was just overall awful. We're going to talk a lot about this one. Before we even get into some of the stats here, DeMar DeRozan didn't leave this game middle of the third quarter. I'm sure a lot of people weren't even watching the Bulls at that point. But DeRozan left with a quad issue. It's his right quad, which the quad's been giving him issues all season. So yeah, I think I don't think DeMar to be healthy or fully healthy the rest of the season. He might play, but I said that even after he came back from the quad issue, that he still didn't look 100%. The last couple of games, he definitely looked a little bit better, more like DeMar DeRozan, especially in that Timberwolves game where he put up 49. But I think the issue is we've played 2 overtime games in the past week or so. And for a guy that is unfortunately getting up there in age, it's affecting him a little bit more than the others. So it's not necessarily a shocker to me that DeMar DeRozan did end up leaving in this one. He did not look good in this one, by the way. He was taking some shots. I'm just like, what? A lot of his shots were short. His jump shot looked very, very low, I should say. Like, he wasn't rising as high on his jump shot as we usually see. So yeah, not great. Not great to see that from DeRozan, but he did eventually leave. He was not playing defense at all today either, so kind of made sense that there is an issue with him. And we figured it out. So I hope DeMar DeRozan's gonna be okay. If he cannot play for the rest of the season for whatever reason it is, Bulls playoff chances just fall tremendously. But I just don't. I think he's probably gonna play, but he's not gonna be 100%. So that's still not great. But you need him out there. But I want to talk about a few things, and I really want to go over some of the film of this game, and kind of show you what Philly did to adjust in this one, because this is something that I thought Philly could have done in the first game a little bit, but they didn't really take advantage. Also, that first game was a very, slow, grinded out type game. I'm going to show you a few adjustments that they did that I thought were very good, that really put the Bulls defense in a very horrible position, and they took advantage. I think Philly's role players, they were very upset with how they performed on their home court on Monday, that they, okay, we got to perform better today. And that's exactly what they did. And so give a lot of credit to them. The Bulls defense has been, again, I'm going to just say this one more time, because I think people are still, like, they can't believe their eyes. They're going to look at this game, like, look, see, guys? Look, the Bulls defense has been good this season, okay? The Bulls defense has been very solid this entire season. And I don't want to just suddenly be like, that's not true. Like, look, the Bulls defense has been solid all season. They're top 5 right now, okay? I am very concerned about this offense because we saw with the Philadelphia 76ers that they had, PJ Tucker back. They lost James Harden, who did not play tonight, but you could also kind of see that, like, maybe that helped them defensively because James Harden really isn't a defender, right? So starting this game, the Bulls did not score a field goal in the first 5 minutes. Their first field goal came at 5:36 or 5 minutes and 36 seconds into the game or something like that. Whenever Vucevic got that dunk, okay. The Zach LaVine hit a free throw to score the first point in the game. He missed the second one, but you could see that the issue was so god awful on offense. Okay, I am aware that the Bulls defensively came out awful tonight, but I am very concerned about this offense moving forward, especially if DeRozan's just not going to be here, because this team's offense is terrible right now, and you just put up 91 points in this game where we didn't have Embiid there for half the game. So I just can't stress enough how concerned I am about this offense. The Philadelphia 76ers, they had 11 points off turnovers from the Bulls in the first half, okay? That's bad offense, right? You're turning the ball over on offense. That's bad offense. The 76ers also had 12 fast break points in the first half. That's, you missed a shot, they get the rebound, they're off on the fast break. And part of that's also, turnovers too. Like, it just shows you that if the offense is going to be this god-awful, it's just going to feed opposing teams points, right? And especially the teams that play a lot faster, which Philly doesn't, right? Philly doesn't typically play this fast. They're typical in the slower teams in terms of pace. But when you play a team like the Milwaukee Bucks or Memphis Grizzlies, the teams that can really, kill you in transition, this is where I'm like, man, this Bulls offense is just going to kill them at the end of the day. So I am making sure I make that point clear now, because this offense is so awful right now that it really is. It's starting to concern me in this one. So, quick look at the box score. Joel Embiid only played 16 minutes. They kept him out for the second half because the Bulls were down by 30. And Joel Embiid had a dominant first quarter and then was just kind of out there for the second quarter, just passing the ball. So, good by him. Anthony Melton, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris. These are the 3 guys that were killing the Bulls all night, and it was mostly off the 3-point shots, as you can see right here. This was killing them. So give a lot of credit to these guys for stepping up, because I know, for example, Tobias Harris did not have as good of a game in on Monday, right? Melton hit some 3-point shots. He wasn't this effective, and Tyrese Maxey kind of had a similar type game tonight. So give these guys a lot of credit. For the Bulls side, Drummond, I think, was the big positive, along with Kobe White. These 2 guys really came off the bench to give the Bulls a little bit of a spark to kind of come back in the game. As I pointed out earlier, DeMar DeRozan did not have a good game, but there's a big reason why, because he has a quad issue going on, right? Zach shot 6 of 15, unfortunately, so not much from him tonight, and I thought Vucevic played an awful game tonight. And when he had opportunities to score, he didn't take advantage. Obviously, it all kind of starts here. Big 3 have to all kind of be there, but when DeMar DeRozan's injured, there goes one of the guys, and then Vucevic and LaVine didn't really perform tonight either, so there's that bad stuff. Patrick Beverley also could not hit a damn shot for his life tonight. So it just was one of those really bad games, and the 76ers were hitting everything. The Bulls couldn't hit anything. And that's that. So quick look at this, because I think this is important just to keep track of. We talk about this all the time, where the Bulls have to kind of win these battles, right? They won the points in the paint battle, which I'm going to give them credit for, because that's honestly where they could only score tonight. They lost the second chance points battle, which was terrible, and then they actually won the fast break points. But even with all these categories, you won 2 of the 3, it just isn't enough at the end of the day, because your offense is so awful. And 116 points by the 76ers, that's not egregious, right? Putting up 116 is not look, Golden State and Dallas, they put up 127, 125. So this isn't an egregious number given up by the Bulls. It just shows you that this offense is it's so bad. But the first half defense was not good at all. I'm going to say this too. I do think that the double overtime against Minnesota and the double overtime on Monday against Philly, I think it played a huge part in this. And it's not necessarily I'm saying that Philly has more rest, because obviously they didn't. But I think that you kind of see how much the Bulls rely on their big 3 to kind of do everything. And when you play in double OT games, right, the big 3 have to do everything in the double OT as well. the 76ers, they have a little bit more support. So, like, obviously they didn't play in 2 double overtimes, but they did play in a double OT, and they just looked fresher tonight. So, yeah. I'm not here to make excuses at all for this Bulls team. They had to come out like, I mean, they should be acting as if every game is game 7 right now. But I guess if there was a game to drop it, like, I'm okay dropping this one because, again, you just won in Philly when I didn't think you're gonna win either of these games, but you got one. So you still have a chance to take over Toronto. Because thanks to Indiana beat Toronto tonight. So you're still right here in the standings. It's not very far off. But yeah, just not a good performance. And I see Anthony here. Yeah, the Bulls did look gassed. They straight up just look gassed. And I do think that played a huge part in it. I do think that the Bulls were actually gassed in this one. So rest up. You got a long flight out to Portland for a Friday game. It's gonna be a late night game on Friday night against Portland. So get ready, get your rest, and then be ready to play maybe a Damian Lillard less Blazers team, but that Blazers team has no defense, so you should be able to score on them. So we'll see if DeMar DeRozan's healthy, but at the end of the day, you just gotta be ready for that one because you got to go out there and win that one. Because Portland's a bad team right now, so get prepared for that one, and then things will look better. All right. I want to talk about a few things that I think that this Bulls team needs to start looking at, because I appreciate how much Billy Donovan's defense has been solid this season, but I'm actually going to point out an issue that I was looking at, and I was like, man, this is where things start to go south with the defense, and it only really, like, this sort of bad defense, I feel like it only happens against like a team like the Denver Nuggets or a team like the Philadelphia 76ers, where you have a dominant big that the offense basically kind of runs through all of them, right? And I'm going to show you a few things that I think kind of show, like, wow, Embiid's impact on the game, right? And there's also some other stuff that I think is interesting to look at here. But let's just look at this play. I'm actually going to pull up YouTube TV here, and I want to actually kind of go through a few things. Because there was a big adjustment by the 76ers in this game that put the Bulls defense in a tough position. And it just kind of further further supports my point that the post-up game is seriously dying, right? And there's a big reason why it's starting to die off. And for a guy like Joel Embiid, who is one of the most dominant post-up players in today's game, you see him, he posts up a lot less frequently than Nikola Vucevic for a reason. And it's because the dude's such a great isolation player, okay? So one of these plays came in at the 144 mark of the second quarter, okay? And this is when Philly is really starting to take off on the Bulls, unfortunately. And we really started to see Philly start to dominate at this moment. But I want to show you how the 76ers took advantage of Embiid and the Bulls double teaming him, because this was a consistent theme, right? The Bulls were double teaming Embiid last game, and then they continue to do this tonight. And everyone's like, okay, so like if that's the game plan, then how do you take advantage of this, right? If you're Philly. So I'm going to show you how exactly Philly was able to destroy this Bulls defense just through Embiid and his isolation, okay? And it's not through the post up, because everyone thinks that the post up's gonna just suddenly like give this Bulls team like some, miraculous points or something, when it's not gonna happen. Or like there's gonna be a double team drawn to Vooch when, again, it's not going to happen. Let's look at this if this would load. Hold on, I apologize. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, you had to hear that. All right, here we go. Let's watch this play, okay? This is a missed 3 from Vooch. Sorry about the sound here. What's going on, guys? I see a Palupa. All right, let's watch this, okay? Now, I've been a big person saying that if DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine, if they're hot, like, you want the one-on-one matchup. You want them to actually isolate, and you don't want the pick and rolls to be drawn up. But you don't want that, because if you just let these guys isolate, it is so tough to double team them. If, like, let's say the opposing team is like, okay, we're double teaming DeRozan, or we're double teaming Levine. It is so tough to double team these guys if they're in the middle of the floor and they're at the top of the key, okay? It is the toughest thing to double team. It is so difficult to double team, okay? And let's just watch Joel Embiid get double teamed here in the middle of, or sorry, not this play, it's the wrong play. But I hold on, let me show you a different play then. All right, it's at the very end of the quarter. All right, let's go here. Bye. But I'm gonna show you a play where Joel Embiid gets double teamed, but he's at the top of the key, okay? And you're gonna see how dangerous it is for the Bulls to try to guard him. Like it just straight up, you cannot guard this man or double team this man if he is in the middle of the floor being double teamed. Okay, let's watch this play. So we're just gonna let Joel Embiid do his thing, is what Philly's kind of saying. This is a horn set. You see Georges need to come up, set a screen. Here comes the other screen. Okay, Joel Embiid, middle of the floor. All right, here we go, pick and roll. But look at this, okay? Now, I do think that DeMar DeRozan did not need to come on over here, okay? I will say this, so if you're going to argue me about anything, that DeMar DeRozan doesn't need to come on over. Zach comes on over, and he's the guy that's supposed to come on over, because if you look at this, right, Zach was guarding, or Zach had to go on to Maxey, right? So he comes off of Maxey, then you see that Ayo comes off of Georges Niang, right? And then Kobe can take either of these guys because he can guard either one of these. But if you make any sort of mistake here in the middle of the floor on an isolation attempt, again, not a post up, right? You see just how deadly this suddenly becomes. DeMar shouldn't have come over, but it just leaves the defense in such a poor position, okay? Again, this is not a post up. This is Joel Embiid, who is arguably one of the best post up players in the league, or the best post up player in the league. And we saw that, right? It is so tough to guard Joel Embiid if he's isolating in the middle of the floor. You cannot double team effectively. It's so hard to double team and recover. But if you post them up, right, we've seen that the Bulls are able to actually double team recover. We've seen this from other teams, that if you double team the post, you're actually able to recover easily. It's just how where the ball is placed, okay? And this is what happens, all right? Let's see here. I know that Joel Embiid had a dunk in the middle of the first quarter that was also pretty annoying to kind of watch. All right, 7:41, and this is when the Bulls are getting wrecked. Let's move in, keep moving. All right, where are we at? All right, this is after the timeout here. And just so you guys understand, like, look at where Embiid is, okay? This is the play I'm talking about. Like, look where he is. He's not here, okay? Everyone thinks, like, oh, we're gonna post up Embiid and we're gonna have him go on the low block here. No, we're gonna put Embiid here, okay? And I just can't stress just how hard this is for the Bulls to try to, like, get back and recover off of. Like, you see Patrick Beverley is, like, actually trying to come on over here to, like, double team. Like, Vooch, like, you could argue Vooch needs to do a better job here, but just having Embiid here, like, you don't know where the help is, right? Because the help is technically the double team that Beverley is coming over and doing. You could be like, well, Zach and DeRozan need to come on over, but then if they come on over, where's the rotation, right? Like, then it's like Beverley has to come out here. It's a screwed up defense at that point. So putting Embiid in this area, sorry, I wanted to putting Embiid at, like, the middle of the floor, it creates so much havoc for this defense to actually try to recover from. And it's truly just interesting to watch, because I can't stress enough how effective this is. But yet I see the Bulls, they just go to the post up and then they run the pick and roll, when I'm like, if this guy's getting double teamed, we don't need to do that. And I would just rather see them just do normal stuff like this, isolate, and let them go to work, and a lot of double teaming to come. Sorry, I'm trying to find another. Okay, let's look at this play. 4:31. 1-2-4. Alright, let's play it from here. Let's see what this one is. No, I don't remember what this was. Zach. Oh, this is a turnover. Okay, never mind. This one's a turnover. That's Embiid's third assist. Where is the other stuff that I want to look at here? 7-13. And the 9 for 51 in the first quarter. Sorry, I apologize. It's hard to do this when NBA doesn't have their stuff ready. Because what I typically would do is just go to each thing and just be like, okay, here's this play, and then I can just pull it up. But I can't right now because the clips aren't ready. So Anthony, if you're asking how do you defend it, I'm going to tell you how I would personally defend it and see how this would work out. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where we are. Okay, hold on. I need to go back. All right, watch this. Okay, see, I don't know if you guys heard the start of the stream, but my internet for some reason is acting up today. I don't know what it is, but I apologize for skipping on this. All right, again, here we go. Look at this. Look at this, guys. Look, guys. Look at this. Top of the key, give it to Joel Embiid, isolate. Here comes the double team, right? Here comes Beverly. This is a principle, right? The principle of the Bulls defense right now against Joel Embiid is when he catches that ball, we're double teaming him, right? And this is how the 76ers took advantage of this, okay? I don't care if DeMar DeRozan even rotates on this. It's too late, right? It's not going to work out. These are too good of shooters for you to even try to defend this effectively. All right. Now, Anthony, you're like, so how do you defend Joel Embiid if this is what they're going to be doing, right? If they're going to isolate Joel Embiid and you're just letting Vooch go on an island, how are you actually going to defend this, okay? So instead of having Beverly come off of Tobias Harris, who is thus like right here, like this is like the simple short pass if Beverly comes off of Tobias Harris here, which we saw in this clip, okay? Instead of full out committing a double team, right? What should happen is this. If Embiid is starting to actually drive, like we saw right there, sorry, I want to pause it earlier, and of course it doesn't work. Sorry, hold on. All right, let's watch this again. So right here, in my opinion, what should happen is you need to build a wall, okay? So P-Will needs to slide over, Beverly needs to slide over, right? Try to build this wall, but you're not full out committing on this, okay? Now, if Embiid is actually able to get through this somehow, right, then what Zach needs to come on and do is come over here to stop this, right? Because if Zach comes on over to help out Vooch here, okay, and we're not letting Embiid at the rim, right? Like, we need to see Zach, like, kind of pre-rotate over here, okay? Because if Embiid's going to see a wall here early and then see Zach LaVine come on over here early, then he's going to want to throw this ball over to Anthony Melton. But if Patrick Williams is able to come over here just a little bit more, and that ball is thrown to the corner, then you send Patrick Williams out to the corner, and then Zach's able to take Tyrese Maxey, okay? But you see here, the Bulls full out just go out and be like double team immediately, and it puts the defense in such a terrible position. Again, if everyone says if you throw the ball into the post, you get the double team, and then you're able to get the open shot, I'm here to say that that's not how it works in today's NBA game anymore. But if you have a guy that is going to get double teamed consistently and you put him at the top of the key in the middle of the floor, the defense has no ability to recover quickly, okay? If they're actually going to go and double team them, the defense cannot recover. It is too big of space, too many shooters to cover, and in such a tough spot where the ball is, that it is so difficult for the defense to recover. Because if you look at this, right, Beverly sells out, right? And it's like, okay, we're selling out, and I'm leaving Tobias Harris open. The next guy that would be the rotate on this would be DeMar DeRozan to cover up Tobias Harris. But then who covers PJ Tucker, right? Like, I don't know who covers this guy. There is no one really here to cover this guy, because I guess the idea would be this, is that DeMar DeRozan covers PJ Tucker, and then Beverly comes over, or sorry, DeMar DeRozan covers Tobias Harris, and then Beverly comes over to cover PJ Tucker. I don't think Beverly can recover in time because this is such a quick pass to Tobias Harris that he can legit just swing it over to PJ Tucker in a heartbeat, right? The reason why the post up is so different, right, is because if you see how the Bulls or any team defends the post up, when that ball gets thrown back out, it's a longer pass. So the defense actually has time to recover to each individual player. But right here, if this is what's going to happen here, right, this pass is too simple. This rotation, it's just not possible. You're not going to be able to rotate and recover in time on this sort of play. This is how the isolation can be so effective and is used in today's game, okay? Because if you double team in the middle of the floor right here, you are screwed defensively. If you have shooters around this dude, it's GG. You're done. So I'm here to just show you this because I think it's important to look at and important to know when the Bulls decide, hey, we're going to post up Vooch to try to get the double team, or hey, we're going to run the pick and roll when DeMar DeRozan has it going just so that he can draw multiple defenders. Well, how about instead of doing both of those things, that we just let them isolate? Because if the opposing team's actually going to sell out on the double team, then this is what's going to happen, okay? And if the Bulls space it out correctly, hello, this is what's going to happen. But if they don't double team and DeMar DeRozan's cooking, then guess what? It's a one-on-one matchup, and that's what you want, right? You want the one-on-one matchup if DeMar DeRozan's cooking or Zach's cooking, right? It doesn't matter what it is, right? I don't care who it is. But if there's a double team on that guy being called, here's what you do. Because this is the most effective way. But, you know, I'm not a coach. Bulls coaching stuff probably somehow missed the fact that the last couple of years Embiid is an automatic turn when double team. Who could have thought he improved? Well, here's the other thing that I think the Bulls coaching staff wasn't thinking about. When Embiid was turning the ball over a lot in the previous game, it was because he was going to the post, right? We saw the Bulls, they were really taking advantage of him when he tried to post up or he went back to the basket. You saw the Bulls come in and swipe the ball, right? This isn't that, right? Joel Embiid has guard skills in a 7'1" body and weighs like close to 300 pounds. This is the reason why I don't understand what this Bulls coaching staff was exactly thinking tonight. But give credit to Doc Rivers. I know I've said that Doc Rivers deserves criticism, and we've said this in this chat. But Doc Rivers figured this out. He's like, okay, if the Bulls are going to sell out on doubling Embiid right when he catches that ball, then this is what we're going to do instead. We're going to isolate him in the middle of the floor, and we're going to bring the double team in the middle of the floor. And if that's what's going to happen, then guess what? The Bulls can't rotate. They're not going to be able to rotate and recover in time because this is such a simple pass, right? So it's give the 76ers and Doc Rivers and their coaching staff credit. They figured it out. Right now, if I was the Bulls and I saw this, that I'm not double teaming Joel Embiid in the middle of the floor here, okay? What I would do is I would have Beverly sink in a little bit, but not full out commit, so that he has the ability to recover onto Tobias Harris. Same thing with Patrick Williams, okay? And P. Will is sinking down here, but the biggest thing in my opinion is I would pre-rotate this, right? I would pre-rotate Zach to come in the middle of the floor, make Embiid see a wall past Vooch, right? And then make Embiid throw it out to the corner. The rotations then can happen. Patrick Williams goes out to Anthony Melton. You see Levine cover Maxey, right? Those are rotations that actually can happen, right? But instead we see the Bulls full out sell out a double team early on Joel Embiid when that just isn't going to work, right? In the middle of the floor. If Joel Embiid was being posted up, yeah, double teaming him immediately because we know that we can recover. We've worked on those rotations, but on this sort of thing, on an isolation attempt, it's not going to work out, guys. It just straight up isn't. So, again, if you want to see the end result of this play, I just don't know what's going to happen here. Like, if DeMar sells out too early on Tobias Harris, well, we got PJ Tucker wide open, right? Beverly is too far from PJ Tucker at this point. So, if you're going to tell me that DeMar needs to be here, well, that's a quick pass over to PJ Tucker. Beverly has to run all the way over here. It's just not going to work. And the other idea would then bring Zach over, but again, how would that work out? Because if you're going to bring Zach over, then this guy's going to have a wide open cut to the rim. I just don't know how you're going to tell me that you're going to double team in the middle of the floor against Joel Embiid. Okay? This is the reason why I'm like, instead of double teaming here, we bring Zach over early, pre-rotate it, make him throw the ball out to the corner. We know that rotation really well. So yeah, I just don't understand what was going on today. Wish you could watch more. The stream got 5:15 practice tomorrow morning. Tough luck expected though, I guess. I appreciate you checking in, Patrick. But yeah, go get some rest. That's more important than the stream. Get your rest. I apologize you had to wake up so early. That sucks. That one was probably a scheduled loss. We come from 2 double OT games and 4 games in 6 days. We split the Sixers series. I agree with Anthony Wicker. We looked gassed. Yeah, I said at the start of the stream, like at the end of the day, I did not think the Bulls were going to get either of these 76ers games. You got one, and to me, that honestly is doing your job. So I'm not gonna criticize this Bulls team too hard tonight. And as you said, and I brought this up earlier too, 2 double overtimes. I know that the 76ers just went through the double overtime as well, and then they just came in a similar flight to Chicago, but they didn't play in that second double overtime. Also, I do think that the 76ers, they just have more depth, right? There are other guys that can be playmakers on that roster. And so while the big 3 for the Bulls, they had to do everything in the double overtime. If the 76ers, they just have some other guys that could do some other things and carry the load for a little bit. And we know that the Bulls' big 3, they have to just do everything. And so seeing DeMar DeRozan actually got injured and has a quad issue going on and just looks slow tonight, not shocked. I'm really not. And as Anthony said, they look gassed. They truly look gassed. So again, you got one in Philly, which honestly, I think that was really important that you won that double overtime, because if you didn't, I kind of expected this was going to happen tonight. I didn't expect a 17-0 lead. I'll say that for sure to start the game. But yeah, I mean, it's not shocking that this happened. So long flight back out to Portland, as I said. I said this earlier. Long flight back out to Portland. Y'all better get some rest and be ready for Portland. Portland's a much worse team. They have a much worse defense, so you should score on them. But there's no time for rest, right? There's very little time here to rest. It's not like we get multiple days off here. So we don't have the privilege of rotating our big 3. We can't just rest them, especially with how the standings look right now. Oh yeah, we can't. Yeah, we can't rest any of them. And if DeMar DeRozan just can't play, then he can't play. But if he can kind of go, he's gonna go. So yeah, again, no time for resting. Man, this is how it's gonna work out for the rest of the season. Unfortunately for the Bulls, they had a pretty extended break between that Kings game and I don't even know the previous game, but they've had some days off. But double overtime in 2 games does suck. It truly does suck, especially with the minutes that these guys are playing. But again, we have to act as if every game is Game 7. Doesn't matter how many days off you got. It's Game 7, so get ready. Again, you got one against Philly. The fact that you got one, I'm happy. I did not think you were gonna get any against Philly, but you got one. You got one against Philly. Toronto lost tonight, so you're basically still with Toronto here. If you win your next game, and Toronto loses their next game, the Bulls are suddenly in 9th. But Pacers did win against Toronto, so they moved up a game here, but you still have a 1.5 game lead. So go get the game against Portland, and then I think we're gonna be all right. But yeah, tonight sucked, just straight up sucked. So I'm glad that this game didn't go to double overtime, because man, I mean, it'd be good, I guess, if the Bulls were in it, but also I'm just like, man, I don't know about attrition for the rest of the season if we went to double overtime. We split the Celtics and Sixers series. Yeah, I mean, I'm aware that in one of the Sixers games, Embiid did not play, but I think that's a pretty big improvement against some of the top tier teams, right? The fact that you got 2 against the Celtics is I think is big. You got 1 against Embiid. You got 2 in total against Philly. That's a big improvement. We've also seen them beat Milwaukee, right? And we swept the Miami Heat. So there's at least some good stuff that we're seeing. But yeah, problem is tons of losing against bottom feeding teams. Yeah, but also this, guys. I think what people kind of look at for the standings, for example, it's like, okay, let's look at these standings and be like, well, who do we lose to? So we beat the Pistons every single time, right? If I'm not mistaken, we beat them. Did we lose to Charlotte? I'm not remembering about Charlotte, but let's just take the Indiana games, for example. I think a lot of people think, well, Indiana's in the bottom part, a bottom part like bottom tier team. Like it's like, well, we're right next to Indiana, so like the fact that we lost to Indiana isn't that big of a surprise, right? Wizards, we lost to them too. Like again, not that big of a surprise because we only have 2 more wins again or compared to them, right? They're kind of like in our realm, but it's not shocking that we won some and lost some. I mean, we beat Minnesota, but then, you know, people were pissed off about the Oklahoma City Thunder L that we took earlier in the season. I'm like, again, OKC, I think people, including myself, were like, oh, they're tanking. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has shown that he is a superstar and is playing, right? And Oklahoma City Thunder, they play the right way. They play good defense. They get inside the paint. They still like shooting. But they're a tough team. And suddenly OKC is in that 8 seed, right? So, again, like, yeah, we lost to them. And it like, does it hurt? Yeah. But they're not exactly a bottom-feeding team. My entire point is here that, like, I don't think there's, like, any, like, the dumpster teams. That like, if you're talking about dumpster teams, we're talking Pistons, Hornets, Spurs, and Rockets. Like, that's 4 teams, right? And I know we lost to San Antonio, but it's like those, when we talk about like teams that are like at the bottom, there's not really like bottom the barrel teams, right? It kind of just shows you that the Bulls are just kind of in the middle of everything, as a lot of teams are, which it's annoying, but I just think this is just how it is. But it also just shows you the parity in the league, right? Because I think a lot of people would say like, oh, Miami, they haven't, like, they've been better than the Bulls, but they're only 40 and 34. Well, guess what? It's like, we see all these teams here, like they only have like 2 or 3 or 4 less wins than Miami, right? It just kind of shows you that like everything is so close right now. So when I see this, when I see the Bulls, for example, they lose, you know, to some of like the lower teams, I'm just not shocked because this Bulls team isn't that good. And we're just kind of in the middle of the pack, as a lot of teams are in this league right now, where we're kind of like hovering around, you know, 34, 35, 36, 37 wins. Just how it is, right? So yeah. Only top team that have cleared us are the Suns, and again, that's not a shocker, right? I don't count the Cavs. We got 100% shafted by the refs twice when we played them twice in a row. I mean, I'll give the Cavs credit for what they did against us this season. But I do agree that I think the Bulls were more in those games, right? I know the first game we played against the Cavs was the home opener. We got wrecked. But then the Donovan Mitchell 71-point game, and then the other one, I'm not like here saying like, oh, we got screwed out, like we got completely wrecked. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting to look at. Yeah. So I mean, if you're the Bulls, this is a winnable game against Portland. Now, if Damian Lillard plays, this isn't just a gimme, right? You got to go out there, perform well, and win this game against Portland, because that's a very important one. After that, the Bulls, then we're going to be facing the LA teams, and Paul George is out. So that makes it a little bit more interesting, because I think the Clippers are better than the Bulls, but if Paul George is out, then, you know, maybe you can take advantage. But the first game is going to be against the Lakers. And we know with the Lakers, Anthony Davis is going to be playing, right? So he's going to be out there now. I don't know if LeBron's going to be out there. I don't think LeBron's going to be there for this game. But D'Angelo Russell should be playing. Their other guys should be playing. They're 35 and 37, so kind of basically where the Bulls are at. So it's, you know, a bottom type team, but they're similar record to us. And then you're going to face the Clippers, and then you come back home to face the Lakers again. And this is the game that I'm like, maybe LeBron returns. So either way, though, you gotta come and bring your A game if LeBron's there or not. There's Charlotte, there's Memphis, Atlanta. So I see Charlotte, Atlanta, and Detroit as like the games we gotta win, and then we see Dallas, Milwaukee, Memphis as the games that are kind of questionable, right? And probably lean towards the other teams, right? So Bulls, you know, there are definitely winnable games coming up here. We're getting really close to the end of the season, but this is it, right? So take advantage of Portland, take advantage of these LA teams, take advantage of Charlotte, take advantage of Atlanta and Detroit. I think you look pretty good for the play-in. But if you lose the Atlanta game, which that would be a big blow, if you somehow lose to Charlotte, right? That would also be a humongous blow. Like it's those, you can't drop those games, right? You gotta come out on top of those specifically. But in the 71 points game, he clearly went over the line. Yeah, he did. But, you know, if I recall correctly, all of the calls were on Caruso going over the line before the ball touched the rim. Oh, that. I remember that, too. That was also garbage. Yeah. And then Mitchell obviously was over the line before the ball touched the rim. So, yeah. Yeah, this is where we're at. We're getting really close to the end of the season. So, here we are at the end of the season. And the Bulls are still struggling to get into the plan. If things go accordingly, I do think the Bulls probably get to 40 wins. Portland, let's say you win 2 of the 3 against the LA teams. Beat Charlotte, you beat Atlanta, you beat Detroit. That's your 6 wins to get to 40. So that's what I'm aiming for right now, is to get to the 40 mark. It is tough. I'm not saying it's easy, but I feel like that with the games that you have left, that you can get to 40. So get to 40. And I honestly think if you get to 40, I think you're looking pretty solid, because I don't know about Atlanta right now. And then we'll see about Toronto. And I just think for the Pacers, it's tough for them to even get to 40. So yeah, that's clear the Lakers both times. That's I will say that I think the Lakers are the weaker team, even with all the moves that they made, and it's just because LeBron is out right now. So if LeBron's out, you gotta take advantage. The Clippers are interesting because while Paul George is out, that team is still really solid. I know they've had their ups and downs this season, but Kawhi's there, and that's scary. And they're not going to be sitting Kawhi at this point in the season, so they need every game that they can get. But yeah, Clippers, Lakers back-to-back in LA. Then we travel to Chicago to face Lakers again. It's a hard schedule. It's annoying. I'll say that for sure. I truly don't understand what the NBA is thinking of sending the Bulls out to Philly and then bringing the Bulls back to play Philly. And then now we're going to go out to Portland. But at least as we're out there, we're facing the LA teams. Like, it's kind of like a little West Coast trip. So out to Portland, you face both LA teams, then you come back. Yeah, there's that. Yeah, to me the number's 40. If you got this game, I would say 41. But I did not expect the Bulls to win win either of these games, and you got one. So good job. The fact that you even got one, I think, is actually pretty impressive. So overall, decent job. So again, the number's 40. Beat Portland. Get 2 of these 3 games against the LA teams. Beat Charlotte. Beat Atlanta. Beat Detroit. You're looking good. We might even see, like, in these games that maybe Giannis rests or something, right? Maybe Luka rests. Like, maybe then you can steal a few at the end of here, because that would actually play key into getting a better seed in the play-in tournament, or making sure you stay in the play-in tournament, right? So I think you can take care of. Yeah. We got a weird schedule. I believe we are tied with one more team. I forgot which one for the most back-to-back games in the season. Yeah, I believe that we are one of the top teams with back-to-back games in the season, which overall sucks. I thought the beginning of the season schedule was awful. Like, we had so many back-to-backs in the beginning of the season, and part of it was the Paris trip. Like, the Paris trip was a huge part of that, because obviously, you have to basically spend a whole week or just take a whole week of the schedules for Paris, and there's only one game that you play in Paris. So I do think that played a part in it. I just think the NBA should have still done a better job. They could have done a much better job with the scheduling in general for this Bulls team. But, that's how it goes in the NBA. Not everyone gets the easy schedule. Our death and rough schedule, weren't really a good match. Oh, yeah. We definitely weren't. So, it overall sucks. And the unfortunate part, like, losing Javante, Caruso's been in and out. Like, that's the stuff that really kills, right? Because those are like the depth, quote unquote, pieces, and when they're out, it hurts, right? It truly hurts the Bulls when those guys are out, and relying on maybe some younger players or just not enough players available, right? Yeah, where it's gonna be tough. I mean, that Portland game, I feel like this is going to be pretty rough. I don't know why. I know that we faced the Lakers at like 2:30. It's a weird start time, but I feel pretty confident about this game for some reason. this Clippers game is a little bit concerning because of just, again, back to back, and you're facing the better team. So, if anything, just take advantage of the 2 Lakers games. But this Portland game, I feel like it's gonna be rough because it's long flight out, late schedule. Yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. Caruso needs to be more considerate of his body. Man, it's extremely important, but he's also extremely reckless. I'm gonna give him credit for this season because the whole thing about this year for Caruso was to stay healthy, right? And I feel like for him, the goal has kind of been like, okay, play 65, right? And if you play 65 games, you're in a pretty decent spot. Right now he's at 59, so I think he's gonna hit the 60 mark. I don't know if he's gonna get the 65. I mean, he has a pretty decent chance of getting there. But if he ends with 65, I feel like he did pretty all right. But if he doesn't, then we need to have a discussion. I feel like every single injury is because he goes ham without a second thought, all in every possession. I do think that plays a part in it. I think the other part, like, it's just, I don't know about his body. Like, I think with Caruso, the thing that happened when he got to the Bulls was that he suddenly was in such a much bigger role. And he's, playing more minutes, 24 minutes this season, 28 minutes last season, right? With the Lakers, the most he ever played was 21 minutes per game, and even in those seasons, he only played in 58 and 25 games, right? So and it's an unfortunate reality, but I just question Caruso's overall body. Like, does he actually have the body to handle heavy minutes? Because with this Bulls team, he has to play more minutes than when he played with the Lakers, right? And we even see in this season that he's playing less minutes this season compared to last season, right? So I just kind of question with him, like, I don't think it's him doing anything wrong, right? Like, he's always gonna be diving on the floor, et cetera, et cetera. But let's just say this, like, I feel like if instead he was averaging 20 minutes per game this season and was still diving on the floor and, playing scrappy and everything, I think he probably plays more games this season just because of less minutes, right? I that's just my theory with it. Again, I'm aware of how much he dives on the floor, et cetera, but I just think that if he just played 20, like, let's say 24 minutes, he played 20 minutes, he probably plays 70 games. And it's just how his body just isn't exactly fully capable of keeping up with the entire regular season and entire game. So yeah, it's interesting with Caruso because his defense, when I look at it, it's and the numbers, it's nuts. And obviously any team would love to have him, but his health is obviously a big question mark. Diving into players' needs with his head, follow hard, etc. It's all because he plays like that. Yeah, I do think that plays a part in it. I'm just saying, like, I also question, like, if let's say he wasn't diving at all, would he still be able to play 28 minutes per game and then play the entire season? I just don't think he would be, right? I think his body just isn't prepared for that, and it's not his fault. It's just that he, when he came into the league, he didn't play as much, and then that stayed consistent, and then suddenly he gets to the Bulls, right, and he's playing starting level minutes but coming off the bench, right? It's just been more minutes since he's gotten here. So I just question, like, is his body actually able to, be conditioned for that? Numbers wise, and eye test, his defense is for sure all NBA first level, but obviously can't put him there if he plays sub 60 games each season. Oh yeah, you can't. You just straight up can't. I think if Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso stayed healthy all of last season, they would have been the two guards and for the all defensive team, for the all defensive first team. But obviously Lonzo can't play, and Caruso only played 41 games, so it is what it is. Now again, I do think Caruso gets to 60 games. So we'll see how much they value that. If 60 games is enough, I'm just gonna say it's probably not. But if he gets to 65, I do think that could be enough, right? Yeah, it has to be like in between with Caruso. You're never gonna get 82 out of him, but you also have to manage his minutes, because to get him to that 65 mark, then how many minutes can he play per game? You saw that his minutes this season have been cut by 4 minutes per game. That's a significant amount. So it's interesting just to see with Caruso moving forward. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna hate me on this, but like, one more time, I look at this, and if I can, I've said it, if I could get a first round pick plus more for Caruso, I'm trading him. I think that's worth it. I know Caruso's here, and he's not making that much money. He's making a reasonable $9.5 million. But if an NBA team is actually going to be willing to give up a first round pick for him, and maybe a little bit extra on top of that, I am just giving him up immediately. As much as I appreciate him, that's an absolute win for the Bulls if they are able to get a first round pick for Caruso. So I don't know exactly what's going to be happening with Caruso. It seems like the front office is pretty hell bent on keeping him. The asking price is very high for him. So I really don't think anything's going to happen. But I don't know. I'm always looking at next season. I'm like, so what can we do? Why hate you for making sense? I think it's just that everybody loves the whole, blue collar type player, heart of Chicago, heart, hustle, and muscle, and they say that player's untouchable. Because if you ask Fox, if you know UK Chicago Bulls, I believe his first name is Jake. If you ask him, who's the untouchable player on this roster, or who's the best player on this roster that you would not give up anything for, it's Alex Caruso. He says that Alex Caruso should be untouchable and has no right to be traded. So I'm just saying that there are some Bulls fans out there that will say that Caruso is untouchable. That's the reason why I preface that by saying that I'm not here to upset anybody, but this is just the reality. Beverly can offer almost the same while being more vocal, which is super important to the silent squad we have. And look, I don't think Caruso's silent, by the way. I think Caruso's very vocal, and he's going to be a coach one day. But I do think what Beverly does a little bit more is he really gets into guys' ears, right? And gets up into their faces and says, hey, you got to do this. Caruso is always going to be yelling and communicating out there on the floor. But what Beverly does is that he gets up in the guy's faces and says, look, I'm talking straight to you. I'm not talking to everybody. I am talking to you, specifically the player that I'm looking at right now. I'm not here to talk to everybody, all 5 guys on the floor right now. I'm talking to you. And I think that's what this team needs a little bit more of. And so I do think that Beverly coming back next season is a huge priority for this Bulls front office, again, whichever way they go. So yeah. Caruso is vocal as Beverly encore. He is more vocal when he is sitting. Pay attention to it. I do think that Caruso is, I'll say this, when he's on the court, I do think that he is one of the loudest players on the court. I'll say that. Because he's a guy that is typically yelling at Debo to, he'll say, Debo rotate. I hear that through the broadcast when he's on the court. I do agree with you that Caruso is more vocal when he's off the court because he is typically yelling out, hey, this play's coming, or, whatever it is, get over the screen, etc., etc. I just think what Beverly does more is he'll talk to the player one-on-one and get them to play better. I'm not going to listen to a UK fan of basketball take 100% seriously. It is what it is. Hey, what's wrong with the UK people? What's wrong with UK people? Why are you being so mean to them? I'm just specifically talking about the one fan that I'm talking about right now. Again, I believe his name is Jake. I respect what he does. He's part of the No Bulk podcast. And he does an overall pretty decent job. And he had this whole kind of Chicago tour this season, which he made content out of it. I just question his basketball knowledge, because I just this guy here, I don't know if I can find it. Maybe can I? Sorry, hold on. Oh, okay, it's not gonna load. But when there were rumors about Caruso being traded, he made a video saying that Caruso should be untouchable. There's no reason why the Bulls should be trading Caruso because their defense has been so poor this season. And he said this at the time when the Bulls were at a top 10 defense. Okay, again, it's part of the reason why it's because of Caruso. I'm just saying that people are just ridiculous when it comes to who they look at as untouchable, right? I don't think anybody on this Bulls team is untouchable. Okay, and if you're gonna tell me that Caruso is untouchable and is the most untouchable or should be the most valued player on this roster, I question your basketball knowledge. I understand he's more of a fan, but if you make that sort of statement, I'm going to treat you as if you're an analyst, and I'm going to treat you as one as well. They watch more cricket than basketball. Basketball is like their 6th to 7th most popular sport. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I expect UK people to have basketball knowledge. Basketball isn't a national thing for them. It's like a joke. I understand some of them love it, but I can't expect them to understand the sport on a deeper level when the sport isn't a thing nationally. I can agree with that, I'll say. Yeah, I can agree with that specifically because I do think that UK fans, that they'll latch onto a team, but they don't know what's happening in the rest of the NBA. So yeah, I can understand what you're saying there, Box, for sure. Because, for Jake here, I think the Bulls are basically his world, right? But he doesn't really look at anything else. So when he looks at the players only on the roster, he says, "Oh, Caruso's the most valuable player on the roster, easily." I'm like, okay, that's what you think. Go ahead, that's fine. But the rest of the NBA begs to differ. All right. This is going to be a shorter stream, so I'm at about an hour right now. But as promised, I'm always giving you guys every single stream, I'm giving you guys a point guard, right? I'm going to be giving you guys a point guard that I think is a potential replacement for Lonzo Ball. And I want to continue to do this just to kind of keep, ideas in our head of potential guys that we can look at. Either, for agency, right? Or potential trades that we're going to be looking at, right? But I want to continue doing this. I think this is interesting to always be looking at. But before I even get to that part, I just want to say this, that I do think that something the Bulls should consider, actually, and I think, Box, you kind of thought about this as well. Kobe White might be a guy the Bulls look at as to be the starting point guard next season. I personally don't exactly like the idea. I think Kobe, as much as he has improved this season in terms of his ball handling and his decision making, I think that he still lacks that sort of that sort of playmaking ability that I want from from the new point guard for the Bulls. Okay, I think Kobe has improved a lot. I think his ball handling has significantly improved, so I'm not going to be too worried about the turnovers with him. Specifically, or the turnovers, when I say that, I'm more like I'm not going to be worried about him losing the ball like how we saw earlier in his career. I do think that the Bulls are going to re-sign Kobe, by the way. I don't think that they're going to just let him go this offseason. I think he's at least proven enough that he's improved. Again, I'm just going to continue to bring this up. I'm not thrilled with the numbers. The numbers just aren't impressive to me. 9 points, about 23-ish minutes, but 42% from the field, 36 from 3. It's not exactly that eye-popping, but I do think that he could actually develop into that Jordan Clarkson role, and that is always that would be a big thing for Kobe if we could develop into that Jordan Clarkson role, and it would help the Bulls out tremendously. Again, it's just about consistency with him, because these last couple of games he's been pretty good, and then he'll go on a week of yikes, I don't know what that was, right? So Kobe might be looked at. I have said this, AK and Mark Eversley, I know that they've been heavily criticized throughout this entire year, okay? And I'm even criticizing them. But when they decided to turn over the roster that they inherited, they kept Kobe, right? The only two players that they kept from the previous roster was Levine and Kobe. And I have said that I do think that there's a reason why. Now, I didn't know why, though. I think that they saw value in him, but I didn't know which value. Was it value to then trade him later and get something in return for him, or was it value to actually keep him and actually develop some sort of role for him? And this season, I think, has kind of showed them that they're going to actually plan on keeping him. And you're kind of seeing what type of role that he could have with this Bulls team moving forward, right? Now, it'll be very interesting to see what they think of Kobe, because let's say Kobe goes out, he gets a 13 million contract annually, right? So maybe it's like maybe it's a 3-year, $39 million deal or something like that, or close to it, or 4 years and I don't know, like 54-ish million. I don't know. Like, let's say that happens, right? And Lonzo is obviously not going to be returning, and the Bulls don't go out and get a point guard. Like, I wonder if they're going to be like, well, you're making all this money, let's just start you and see what happens, right? So I think that this is something that is it's something to actually kind of look at. Like, maybe the Bulls actually think, yeah, we'll start you. And I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. He brings shooting. His ball handling is pretty solid. And obviously defensively he's improved. My thing is though is that I worry about playmaking still with this Bulls roster, as you saw tonight that the Bulls could not score a damn bucket for the first 5 minutes of the game. We scored on some free throws, and that was it. And then Vooch finally got a dunk. But you just see that there is a big lack of playmaking on this roster. So while Kobe, I think his ball handling has improved. I think he's more of a scorer, just kind of similar to Zach, right? That he really shouldn't be thinking about playmaking for this team. He should be thinking about scoring the basketball. And so, I don't know. It'd be an interesting look. I'm kind of willing to look at it, but I still would rather have that playmaking point guard instead. So just be on the lookout for something like this. Decent defensively, be able to create half court, else give him the chance to hold on to the damn thing and then shoot the three, a good clip, 4 to 5 attempts a game at least. If Kobe White's starting, I want him to shoot the 3 ball 6 to 8 times. Like, bare minimum. Like, bare minimum, he should be shooting 6. He should be averaging 6 threes per game if he's getting 30 plus minutes per game. Bare minimum. And I don't even think that should be even a discussion, because he needs to shoot the ball. One of the few shooters on this roster. He's got to shoot the ball if he's starting. I already think that in the games that he's played in this season, where coming off the bench, him averaging 3, I think is actually too low. I think he should be averaging 4 at bare minimum. But it is what it is. So I would like for him to be shooting at bare minimum, if he starts next season, 6 threes per game. Bare minimum. 8 would be great, but bare minimum would be 6. So yeah, that'll be interesting to just kind of think about. Now, one guy that I've kind of thought about this, because I don't know exactly what Philly's gonna be thinking about this. Let's move over to Philly here, because if you actually look at Philly's roster, there are a couple of guards on there that kind of intrigue me, that I don't really know if they're like point guards in a sense, right? But we can kind of figure it out. But it's kind of crazy. Maybe you're gonna be like, well, Duncan, we just saw them. We just saw this guy just kill us tonight. But and maybe that's why you're talking about him. But I've kind of had this guy on my sights for a little. That's Anthony Melton. I know people say he's more of a shooting guard, but I kind of disagree. I think that his ball handling is pretty solid, and I've seen some good stuff from him, especially in Memphis, where he actually ran the point guard position. So I think a guy like Anthony Melton would be someone to look at. He's making $8 million this season and $8 million next season, and he's an unrestricted free agent after that. I know it's a shooting guard, but I don't know exactly what Philly's looking at for the 2023-24 season. Joel Embiid's massive deal is kicking in. James Harden obviously is a player option. They got to re-sign him because he's not accepting his player option, by the way. And they have to go out and get some other guys as well. So they have to either sacrifice Georges Niang, who is another guy I want the Bulls to actually go after. Shake Milton's going to be gone. There are going to be some guys that they're going to have to kind of sacrifice just to kind of keep the core around. And maybe D'Anthony Melton might be one of those guys that the sacrifice they're going to be planning on bringing back guys like Georges Niang, right? Or a Paul Reed, for example. So just be on the lookout for this guy. So here's my point guard that I'm going to be giving you guys in the stream is look at D'Anthony Melton. And I don't think D'Anthony Melton has been doing anything crazy in his career, but I do think that he is overall pretty solid. The playmaking is also something I do worry about with him, but I do think that his turnovers aren't exactly that egregious. He's averaging 28 minutes per game this season. He started a decent amount of games. Again, I know he started at shooting guard for a decent amount of it. So just something to consider. He's averaging about 10 points per game this season. Again, 28 minutes per game. If he suddenly is the point guard and is playing maybe a little bit more minutes, I think these numbers go up a little bit. He's shooting 40% from 3-point range, which is obviously a big plus, right? And he's averaged 1.7 steals per game, which is always a good thing, right? In his time in Memphis, he was mostly a point guard, as you can see here, backup point guard for Ja. And I thought he played pretty well as the backup PG for that team. Now, obviously, last season was a little bit more shift to the shooting guard role, and then this season you can argue I'd say he's more shooting guard this season. But this is just a guy that I think maybe the Bulls could actually go after and sign. So he is 6'2". Again, he's a little bit on the shorter side, but he is 200 pounds. He's 24, going to be 25 next season. So just something to look at. A guy at the Anthony Melton that I know can really shoot the ball effectively and handle that ball pretty effectively as well. So that's my point guard of this stream. As I said before, we're going to consistently always be looking at this. So right now, the first one I gave you was Tyus Jones. I then said Terry Rozier. I then said Javon Carter. And then this guy, D'Anthony Melton. So I'm giving you 4 now for guys to potentially look at for the Bulls at the point guard position moving forward. More specifically, though, for next season, because we know that Lonzo Ball is going to be out for at bare minimum most of, if not all of next season. Yeah. You think we're going to retrust Kobe to run PG again? I'm just saying that the Bulls might consider it just because of the Lonzo Ball issue. I'm not saying that they fully trust him. I'm just saying that they might reconsider it. What do you think about Shake Milton, since we were talking about Sixers players? So I do like Shake Milton. I do think that, unfortunately, with him, that he is kind of stuck right now on the Philly back end of the bench. And it's just because Philly just has really solid players, right? I think, D'Anthony Melton was a huge pickup for them. I think having PJ Tucker was also a huge pickup for them. And Tyrese Maxey is kind of taken off. So you don't really see a need for a guy like Shake Milton, unfortunately. But I do like Shake Milton. I think Shake Milton is a guy that is unfortunately more oriented to score. Where I kind of see D'Anthony Melton as kind of like maybe a little bit better of a two-way player, and can maybe create a little bit better. But Shake Milton, he's a guy that I know can light up from 3-point range for sure. We saw him go on a really good streak of 3-point shooting before, but he intrigues me. I just don't know exactly where he would kind of fit on this Bulls team, because if we're re-signing Kobe, for example, why would we go out and get Shake Milton, right? Because I just think they just play similar roles. That's my only issue with it. He has been pretty good overall in terms of his field goal percentage, but again, though, it's like it just seems like we're having kind of two Kobes on the roster in a sense. Yeah, and he's more kind of oriented to score. It doesn't really bring much defense. So yeah, I like D'Anthony Melton much more, and he obviously got paid for a reason. So yeah. I like Shake Milton. If for some reason Kobe doesn't work out and he goes to another team and Shake Milton is available, which he's going to be available this offseason, but he's going to be probably restricted if I'm not mistaken. And then actually I'm not 100% sure, honestly. I'm going to actually look at this right now. Yeah, okay, he's going to be restricted. Or he's going to be unrestricted. Not really unrestricted. So if Kobe leaves and Shake Milton and the 76ers don't bring him back, then maybe go after Shake Milton, or they go after Shake Milton. Sixers are loaded with guards. They are. So I'm kind of looking around the league right now of like, okay, who has guards that kind of need some playing time, or who has guards that they have a big role now, but there's probably no way that they're gonna come back. Like, for example, Javon Carter with the Milwaukee Bucks. That's gonna be very interesting to look at, because the Bucks, I don't know how much they're gonna be willing to pay Javon Carter, right? And if Javon Carter is somehow able to get a starting job, starting level money, I think the Bucks might just be like, yeah, goodbye. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking around the league, and Philly has a roster full of guards. So, kind of reason why I brought up D'Anthony Melton tonight. But, all right, that's my point guard to look after for next season with the Bulls. But that is going to conclude the stream tonight. It was a pretty rough, depressing, and just overall terrible Bulls loss tonight. But we're going to hopefully see the Bulls do a better job against Portland And we'll see if Damian Lillard plays in this one. It is a late game, so I'm not going to stream after this game because it is just very, very late and there's no need to. But let's hope the Bulls do a better job against Portland, and let's see if DeMar DeRozan's going to be all right. Because, again, he did leave tonight with a quad issue, which has been giving him issues all season long. But appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Again, we're getting close to the end of the season. And been an overall crazy ride, but I appreciate you guys hanging with me throughout the entire year. Brunson, man, I thought the Knicks did a bad move. He proves me wrong. Good for him. Underrated. I thought the Knicks also did a bad move, and he's also proved me wrong. Now, I've always liked Jalen Brunson. I just didn't think he deserved that much money. But yeah, he's proven me wrong. So I'm happy for him. I'm very, very happy for him. Yeah, that's that. All right, appreciate you guys a lot. I'll see you on the next one.